for the firm. We've identified 3 solutions to educate, retain, and grow. We'd like to partner with DECA, working with high school secondary education students and continuing to work with students through university. We'd like to provide in-office childcare to support female investment professionals to retain them. If they desire to, start a family, things like that, how can we keep them and so they don't feel that they have to just stay at home with their kids if that's how they feel. Thirdly, we'd like to create a sponsorship program to alleviate gender bias and help empower and grow these female professionals throughout their career with McKinsey Investments and tailor it down into your boutique investment groups as well. Our impact, we would like to drive 35% female finance majors by 2030. We'd like a less than 30% female employee turnover rate, and lastly, 8 to 10% female client AUM growth overall. I'd like to take this to Nils to continue.
Yes, let's see what is going on in the industry overall. You have some fundamental issues that impact not only the financial industry, but industries overall. These are historical norms, structural barriers, and also cultural dynamics. Let's see how these impact the specific industry. So in the financial industry, only 30% of women feel that their needs are being adequately met. And then structural barriers include female representation amongst finance majors is only 25.7%. So we're seeing this problem start early in education, where females might not even be aware of this being a field that they are more than welcome to go into. Lastly, cultural dynamics that go over into the workplace include things such as females being disproportionately assigned administrative tasks when they could be otherwise honing in on their skills that are technical in the industry. So clearly there's a need for change. So this issue demands equal gender representation through educational, professional, and then also leadership levels. So our current situation is that we have a lack of female investment professionals. And then these existing gaps are identified to see where do we really need to get to work. First, the lack of awareness with students. This starts early, as seen by the numbers in finance majors. You have a high turnover of over 40% in female employees compared to male employees. And then the absence of women in upper management creates a lack of role models for younger women to look up to. So what's our goal? We want to create and capitalize on a strong female workforce.
And here are our key strategies in order to do that. And I'm going to start with number 1, partnering with DECA to track data and improve awareness and recruitment for McKinsey overall. So where does this problem really start? It starts at the top of the funnel. Like Nils and Maddie mentioned, even though women in Canada make up 59% of college educated people, they only represent 25.7% of finance majors, so we need to get at them early. DECA is an organization that leads business competitions at the high school level, and by placing McKinsey in partnership with them, we can get to these ambitious young individuals just like Sarah early on, so before she actually decides what she's going to major in, she knows that this opportunity is available to her. The 5-step process for implementation, having McKinsey reach out and establish that partnership with local DECA chapters throughout Ontario and Quebec, moving on to hosting signature events where real investment professionals can come in and be those role models for young girls and students in these high schools, collect and track student data through our CRM platform, which I'll explain more about shortly, engage them early and often so they get that support throughout high school and then the rest of their careers, and then finally build that pipeline. And why is this important? Because 65% of students already pick what their area of study is in high school. So when we're looking at why are more women not becoming finance majors, we need to address that gap early on. And so what does this look like for Sarah and her friends? 5 key impacts. Early awareness, skill development where they can actually work with those investment professionals to begin building their financial skill set so they can go into university, learn more, and prepare for future career opportunities. Grow their network so they know people that are out there, not just professionally, but also other students who are looking to pursue similar careers. Establishing relationships with McKinsey as well to finally, in the long run, pursue some of those career opportunities. And the key takeaway here is that they're getting the role models, hands-on experience, and support that they need to end up pursuing finance. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about wanting to track how these students are progressing, and that's where we introduce our CRM dashboard and platform. Now there's a lot going on here, but I want to start up in the top left, looking at Sarah. We want to get to know more about her. So from a simple Google Sheets survey connected back through a Firebase database, our McKenzie team can know who Sarah is, how old she is, what year of study she's at, and that lets us also further generate other insights. We can track which events she's come to when McKenzie has visited her school and participated in DECA. We can see which competitions she's gone to, which schools she's thinking about applying for, and that gives us the information we need to make sure she knows finance is an adequate career and path for her. When we then reach out to Sarah, we can look at where she's thinking about applying, what she might need next, and for example, giving these specific recommendations of what we can do to help Sarah on her journey. And what does this mean? It means we better identify talent at an early stage because as we all know, finance recruiting is happening earlier and earlier. We increase the ability of our mentors to give valuable data to Sarah to actually build a relationship there that can be long lasting. And finally, we get data-driven insights that can then follow her throughout her college experience. So how do we then transition Sarah from high school in through college? Right here. So it starts with one, confirming her university through, again, a survey in partnership with the DECA chapter at her school. We know where she's going to be. For example, if she were to go to McGill, we can then, in the second step, look through that CRM database, know that, okay, she's going to be at McGill University. Here are the Women in Finance events for her, and send out an automated email letting her know that there's an event coming up on October 15th. This gives her that early awareness she needs, even as a freshman. Then, deepening engagement. As we track her throughout her college career with participation in these clubs and events, our staff can monitor that she's a high performer and then reach out to Sarah to inform her about networking opportunities where she can get to know the firm better. Finally, we look at actually recruiting her to McKenzie. Sarah is a high performer. She's involved on campus. She competes in competitions. We know she's the talent that we want, and so then we can have our staff reach out to Sarah where they have valuable insights on what's important to her past experiences, and why she'd be a good fit for our firm. So now that she's joined us full time, how can we actually go about retaining and keeping her around?
Thank you, Cameron. So going on to the second part of our solution in order to retain Sarah, we are going to offer on-site childcare to help support our primary caregivers. So there are a couple things that we know about McKenzie, and we do know that they have a very comprehensive benefits package. 2 to 3 weeks PTO, they have 15 weeks maternal leave, an extra 40-week bank that both parents can tap into in order to stay home with children. They also have a comprehensive counseling program to help out new parents balance their work and social life. But what else can we be doing in the workplace in order to retain people like Sarah? We also know that there are quite a few stressors for women in the workforce. So we know that 73% of mothers in Canada are employed either full or part-time. We know that finding childcare that is cost-effective, that is also challenging enough for students is a bit of a challenge for mothers here. And we also know that 49% of parents in Canada say that actually identifying these childcare centers is something that places major stress on them whenever they think about returning to work. We know that without support, we lose the women that are crucial to our organization who bring in new clients for us. So we would like to introduce on-site childcare that would uphold the 3 pillars of McKenzie, being excellence, leadership, and empathy. We would want this to be an immersive program that would expose children to both French and English early on in their life so that they can be prepared to move on to middle and high school later on. We would like it to be engaging with age-appropriate toys and opportunities provided to children to give them a head start from other Canadian children. And then we would also like for this to be a secure facility where key card access is required, as well as all visitors have to be approved by parents. We want this to be a place where children can thrive and parents can drop their children off and focus on work. So benefits to McKenzie would be a decreased turnover rate for mothers. We know that women in finance specifically have a higher turnover rate when compared to their male counterparts. This can lead to a cost savings of anywhere from 50 to 200% of this person's salary, so that they don't have to acquire and train new talent. We also know that this would provide visibility in a very competitive market. Finance is quite a competitive place, and as Cameron mentioned earlier, you have to have visibility on your firm early on so that you can attract the right talent. And this would be unique to McKenzie. And then we would also hope that this would give McKenzie a reputation as a leader in female recruitment and female empowerment in the workplace.
you, Lainey, for your insight on that. And then thirdly, with our how can we grow? How can we empower sponsors to give female investment professionals valuable work assignments and help them continue on through their careers, finding that upper level management that we seek. I mean, everyone would like to grow in their career, but I feel like women especially really want to grow, and how can they grow and not stay stagnant throughout their career? So we've implemented a sponsorship program, how we can pair sponsors and mentees in the entire company together, and they clearly understand their expectations of the program. Mentees have established the goals and their passions and how they would like to succeed in their career while with Mackenzie. Both parties commit to regular one-on-one check-ins with each other to stay up to date on how the sponsor can help the mentee work towards their goals, how the mentee can improve upon their current work assignments and what they're currently been given in their scope. Secondly, we would do a bias-free matching, focus on career development goals and areas where the mentee needs the most support on, having dual sponsorship from a senior male and female leader. This further goes into males not feeling like they're being overlooked now if we're trying to drive a more female focus by growing this female employee base. Males may feel a little left out, so by having this male and female senior leadership, that kind of gives that unconscious bias away. You're not really thinking about gender bias when you have two different viewpoints from two different genders coming to help you. Thirdly, we have a training. You would conduct the unconscious bias training for both sponsors and mentees, offering the leadership training specifically designed for women, though, hosting potential workshops in the future on how to be an effective sponsor. How can these sponsors continue to grow and continue to inspire and help these young professionals with their careers? And then lastly, we would always keep a lookout for our metrics for success. We would track the promotion rates. How are these mentees doing in this program? Is it working? Continuing to adapt and evolve our sponsorship program over the years. We don't want this to be a one-time thing. We want this to continue to evolve with the company and be able to take this program and implement it in all of our different boutique investment groups as well. So this kind of implementation of the sponsorship program with defining the program goals, beginning that unconscious bias and leadership training, not just for this program, but for the company as a whole, taking that gender bias out of the way for everyone. We would launch the mentorship and sponsorship matching process, which we would have a dedicated team to do so, which I'll touch on that in a second. You would introduce this program to all employees and actively recruit participants to join the mentee and sponsor roles. And then you would begin the first round of the sponsorship check-ins and all this stuff, all while constantly looking for evaluating the program's success, making adjustments, and celebrating success stories when applicable. Your areas of focus, this will increase that inclusive and equitable environment that you are desiring to achieve, while also personalizing these solutions with the sponsor and mentee relationship. So your core values for implementation, having those clear goals, this aligns with your company values of looking to emphasize empathy and how to grow with all of this changing of the environment, fostering success stories from senior leaders who have benefited from these sponsorship programs. And maybe you have a mentee, maybe Sarah goes through this program, she's a mentee paired with a senior leader, and then a few years down the road, she's promoted, she becomes that senior leader who will go to help that person. And then with our team of our head of talent development, their key role is cultivating the next generation of leaders at Mackenzie. This head of talent development, she has her team of staff who will work to identify these emerging leaders. They're working with HR and the DEI team to develop the training. They're conducting the matching, tracking progress, continued adaptation, maybe even hosting a further summit in the future with all female employees and leaders throughout the entire company.
And so what does that mean for our overall story now? We identified the lack of female investment professionals. Using our DECA partnership and CRM integration, we're getting them into the top of our funnel early, making them both aware of finance fields and giving them the skills they need to succeed. Once they come into our firm, we help them deal with difficult life challenges like starting a family, so we continue to support them. And finally, with our sponsors program, we're making sure that they're not just getting handed those administrative tasks anymore. They have somebody in their group with the power to say, hey, this person, like Sarah, is talented and she needs to be on this project so that she can get the skills to grow our company and be better for serving clients. And ultimately, this is our implementation plan. Happy to talk about it a little bit more in Q&A, But the big things here, within each of these programs, there needs to be a pilot phase where you're testing and getting feedback on what's important and what works, and then scaling up implementation so that, for example, with DECA, we start at one school, see what works, collect feedback, and then scale to other schools and districts in the area. For the childcare program, begin in one office and then move forward. And same thing within sponsorship. Within those 16 different boutique investment firms, we need to make sure it works at one, and then we need to take that and expand it throughout Mackenzie's full offerings and organization.
Yeah, let's look at how we're going to measure the success of these initiatives that we are proposing. First, as we said, we want to start early. Right now, the share of female finance majors is around 26%. We think in the next 5 years, a realistic number to achieve would be 35%, but a long-term goal would be to increase that number to be at par with male finance majors. What that would do is it would reduce systemic barriers and align the industry with the needs for a diverse talent pipeline. Female turnover rate, we would like to get that at the same level as male turnover rate for employees, which is just under 30%. Female client acquisition rate, there's a big wealth in motion and wealth transfer going on from male to female, and we would like to capture that, and we would measure that through how many of our new clients are female versus male. Last, we think that female client assets under management can grow at an outpaced rate compared to male because of that wealth in transfer mode trend. So we think a good target for that would be 8 to 10% annually. Let's look at some risks of these initiatives. First, you have a perception of tokenism. If you have somebody who goes through these programs that are tailored for women, they might be perceived as being there due to their gender. But how do we mitigate this? We ensure that the recruitment is focused on merit, and candidates are hired based on their qualification and not solely based on gender. The people that will be placed in these roles have gone through the programs we talked, adequate training, have excellent skills, and will be there for what they can do and not what gender they were born with. Next is the limited female talent pool, which we have addressed at length, and we want to track that talent and make sure that pipeline keeps flowing. Last is the fear of reverse discrimination that we've touched on earlier, and here we think it's important to have a transparent communication of goals and methodologies to ensure that we mitigate that risk.
And so what does that mean, that overall strategy? We know that we need more women in finance. Why is that important? Because women are increasingly the people who possess wealth for our clients, and they want female professional investment representatives. Through our plan, Educate, Retain, and Grow, we're going to increase the talent base at the start, make sure that they're supported throughout their career, and overall create great female professionals for Mackenzie. Thank you.
The presentation is up. Thank you. We'll now begin the Q&A period. Friendly reminder, the Q&A period will only be 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, guys, for your presentation. I saw a couple of things that I really liked. I liked your focus on getting girls interested at the high school level. I think that is a key success area. I think right now in our education system there is a lack of financial awareness for both boys and girls, and I think that could be a way of approaching that. One thing I noticed in your presentation that you did not go into at all is the costs. And did you have any sort of breakdown or estimate of what the costs could be as far as implementing a plan, your plan, both at getting the students at the high school level and beyond, and also for the mentoring once they come into the business?
Oh, apologies. Got it. Thank you. Yes, so thank you for that question. We did look into some of the specific costs, especially related to the technology that would need to be implemented in order to run that data platform. These are some of the specific technologies that would need to be used, as well as how much it would cost for each one of those in order to be implemented. What we don't have a ton of detail on in here is the specific labor costs that we would need. For example, if our investment professionals putting in the time to go and set up these mentorship programs. The great thing about the partnership with DECA is it's very low scale on our end. If we run, for example, with one high school, a singular event per year, that's one day of a couple of our employees' time to go there and be those role models for those students. So overall, the cost structure there is quite low. And as you can see for this, in terms of the total cost over the 5 years, approaching around 800,000. But when you look at the talent acquisition costs that are normally in place, I think improving the talent pool that Mackenzie's able to get, ensuring that from a really early point, we know who is the best. If we recruit Sarah, for example, and we know that she's had 3 years of high school experience in business finance, she's joined the clubs at college and competed, and we have a personal relationship between some of our professionals and her, it's a very high likelihood that when we spend on going after recruiting her, that she's going to actually accept that position, and then also stay with us for the long run by decreasing turnover and supporting her there.
Thank you.
You can go ahead. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, based on your market research, have you considered the privacy and legal concerns with the CRM database, the solution of capturing information about high school students, minors? Have you looked into that at all?
Mm-hmm. So part of what makes it serviceable, or I guess okay in that sense from a legal standpoint, is that all of the information collection is voluntary. This isn't, a tool like Zoom Info, for example, where it's tracking and pulling from third-party databases and sources and collecting information on minors. The way it would work, we would partner with the specific high school to essentially create just a Google form where students can voluntarily submit their information and data, like what year they're in, what they might be interested in, schools they're thinking about applying to, and then we can use that data collection to then create some of those insights pulled from outside resources. So because we're not actually, like all the information, all the input is voluntary, we avoid some of those legal issues that would normally be in place.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up question. Is there a team behind it that we need to hire in order to manage the database?
So we wouldn't need a full internal team. It would be able to be outsourced through a consultant. All of the costs for implementing, for example, the Salesforce CRM are quite low, and actually putting it in place at the start, especially with new AI integrations now, is quite cheap. So I don't believe we would need to hire an internal team. And once that dashboard within Salesforce is created, it would be a very simple process for our investment professionals to actually use.
Thank you.
So DECA is a recruitment software, right?
DECA?
Yeah.
DECA is a organization that operates within high schools to give students professional business experience. Ontario, Canada is actually very well known for being extremely successful within DECA. And basically, they put on events very similar to this style, but for high school students, so that they can be exposed very early on to what their careers would be. And honestly, right now, what they don't do well enough is connecting them to real-world professionals so that it can improve their recruitment processes in the long run. And that's where an opportunity is for Mackenzie. Because if they can get involved, there's not a lot of other firms currently reaching out to these chapters and saying, we'll give you our real professionals to give that advice to those young students. And I think that's a real opportunity for Mackenzie.
And how would that be deployed across the schools?
Apologies for this. So this would be our 5-step partnership process. So number one, establishing the partnership. It would have to be someone on our end reaching out to these chapters. They all have Instagram accounts that are very public, where they advertise what's going on with their events. We can simply reach out to them and their faculty and say, we'd like to create a new event where we can train members of your DECA chapter. And then you would actually go in, host that event, and then also integrate that with, would you be interested in participating in our CRM long-term recruitment platform? All you have to do is create a Google form and use AI to connect it to the back-end database. It can be done in 2 minutes with essentially no cost. And that's essentially how that program would be started. And then for scale, you would start with that one school, establish the program and the process, and then reach out to other schools within the district.
There's 3 minutes left if ever you have.
2 minutes?
3.
if we wanted to roll out something in the next 12 months, what would you suggest that we focus on first?
I would suggest focusing on the sponsorship program rollout, because in what I had identified, the pilot would not take very long. It would take about like 3 to 6 months to even identify those needs, what females are looking for in the company, and how you can really tailor this to honestly new hires in the start, and having them paired with someone, seeing those people that are kind of those standouts in your new hire pool, and how you can empower them to continue growing in that kind of new opportunity of change and growth for them, and have them matched with someone in the first, like their first 3 to 6 months of working with the company. After that 6 to 12 months, they're meeting with their sponsor regularly, having those one-on-one check-ins, maybe twice a month if they're ambitious, once a week, but I know business is kind of crazy sometimes. So having those meetings and helping them grow as in that first year of being on the team would be crucial to getting them to stay with Mackenzie past that initial hiring. In that time, people are making those decisions. Can I see myself staying here? Learning about then the further opportunities after you implement the sponsorship program, maybe behind the scenes, those other programs of childcare and DECA and things like this are being implemented. So then after their 12-month mark, they're learning about all of these other things that Mackenzie has to offer that maybe somewhere that they're looking at doesn't have. So that encourages them to stay with Mackenzie and for the future long-term process like that.
We'll have time for one more question.
Well, if I don't, it's not really a question, but I just wanted to give you kudos for your suggestion of approaching girls at the high school level. I think that's a very important approach. And you had your student support dashboard, which I thought was very good too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the Q&A period is up. Thank you, delegates and judges, for your participation. We'll ask everyone to leave the room so we can start the deliberation period. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll be your timekeeper for today. I will show you warning signs where there are 10, 5, 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Once the 10-second countdown is up, I will say stopped, after which the team must stop talking immediately. Afterward, a 10 minutes Q&A period will follow. I would like to remind you that all team must present for a minimum of 15 minutes, and all team members must speak during the presentation, but not necessarily during Q&A period. Audience member, I will ask that you please place your phone on silent mode and remain seated in the room for the duration of the full presentation and Q&A period. I will now let the judges introduce themselves. Once they're done, you may begin your presentation and the timer will start. Judges.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Valérie Lemire. I work for Human Resources at IGM Financial.
Hi, I'm Tim Cummings. I worked for IGM a few years ago for a number of years, and I'm retired now.
Hi, my name is David White. I'm the Manager of Benefits and Wellness at PBH, a retail company.
If Aneshka, Rebecca, Benayo, and myself, Baptiste, representing White Swan Consulting, are standing here today, it is because McKinsey Investments wishes, but has not yet been able to, reach perfect parity between female and male employees. But rest assured, we are standing here today to tell you exactly how you can achieve this through the unshakable strategy. But allow us to present to you key challenges we've identified, with the first one being the lack of percentage females you have in terms of applicants compared to the number of male applicants you have. Secondly, the high turnover rate of female applicants is unattractive. And lastly, the lack of mentorship opportunities female currently retain within your firm. And that is why we'll be asking ourselves today, how can McKinsey Investments actually effectively reach its parity in employees between male and females by attracting and retaining female employees? And we present to you the unshakable strategy, a strategy where we will offer holistic support to females, going beyond the traditional offerings you currently retain by offering a chatbot for the current applicants for females to get better clarifications on the Career Center page, but also guidance from existing employees in your firm to the female applicants, and lastly, providing access to your current employees to external offerings like babysitting so they save time on external things they have to do. And our main KPI for today will be the 22% female turnover rate in coming 5 years. Now, Rebecca, could you walk us through our analysis?
Thank you, Baptiste. As with any good analysis, let's start with why. The foundation of McKinsey Investment success lies in their vision, to empower all individuals to achieve financial success. They have done this through their how, their unshakable relationships, and access to partners and expertise of IGM Financial. What this has resulted in is 16 specialized investment boutiques across 5 categories. Looking at the future of this company and how they can further align their vision statement, we see that there is currently 1 trillion wealth in motion of Canadian dollars. However, the majority of this will be inherited by women by 2028, meaning that if McKinsey Investments wants to further align their vision, it means empowering all individuals, and these individuals will be the future clients, women. Therefore, now let's take a look at what these women will need being future financial clients of McKinsey Investments. We see that 2/3 of women prefer speaking to female financial advisors, meaning that when they come to approach McKinsey Investments, they will see that the workforce distribution is that only 30% of these investment professionals are women. Therefore, the challenge we are faced with today is that for McKinsey Investments to fulfill their vision of empowering all individuals, including these future female clients, their female employees must be empowered first. Due to the low workforce distribution of investment professionals being women, by increasing this percentage, more women will be able to access McKinsey Investments and feel comfortable speaking to the female investment professionals. Therefore, the key question we are posed with today is how can McKinsey Investments efficiently empower these female employees? Well, let's take a look at their career progression. Starting off with their attraction to the finance industry, we see that 3/4 of women are not attracted or do not envision themselves in these finance roles. And when they go to apply, half of them lack confidence and information about this career. Looking into once they have applied and they're in the role, there's only 1 out of 4 female undergraduate students have female mentors to look up to, whether that is a professor or a woman in this industry. In terms of promotion, we see that women are 24% less likely to receive a promotion. Furthermore, In terms of the long-term career progression, we see that women are 3 times more likely to quit their job due to this work-life balance and having to care for their family. The insights we see from this trend is that the 2 main challenges we are faced with today in attracting women is attracting more female candidates to apply, targeting the attraction and the application process, as well as retaining these female employees, whether that is through mentorship models, promotions, and helping this work-life balance. Let's take a look at our first challenge, attracting more female candidates to apply. Our team has come up with this evaluation map of feasibility and impact and valued several strategies in order to target this challenge. We see in green the feasible strategies, such as the partnerships with universities and the case competitions, which your company is already doing. Further boosting these is key in leveraging our strategies. However, we have come up with new strategies to further boost this gender parity ratio, such as a social media campaign, which will allow female applicants to learn more about Mackenzie investments, with a majority of female applicants using social media to learn more about these potential jobs, targeting the pain point we have seen before of women lacking knowledge about these roles. Next, we're introducing an online chatbot that will address this lack of information and fear of judgment. As we see, women are 2.5 times less likely to ask questions in public or at events. Lastly, we will create a mentorship program that will connect students to these existing female leaders in Mackenzie Investments. However, these female leaders have to also be retained. So let's take a look at our second challenge, retaining these female employees. Our new evaluation map has strategies to retain female employees, addressing the work-life balance and promotions. We see that a services platform that will connect employees to services that will support their roles as mothers and further support their work-life balance, as 70% of women view this as their biggest career hurdle. Furthermore, we will seek to increase promotion visibility to help women get more promotions by including the mentorship program as part of work hours, because not only do the majority of women say their extra efforts go unseen and overlooked at their workplace, but the majority of them enjoy actively supporting other women. So by connecting the mentorship program not only to attract female candidates, but also to retain the female leaders at Mackenzie Investments, this is the go-to strategy for high impact and high feasibility. Taking a step back and looking at our insights for today, we see that Mackenzie Investments' vision is to empower all individuals, with the majority of wealth now being in motion and being transferred to women. However, we see that women are now preferring speaking to female investment professionals, showing that in order to empower these upcoming future clients, we require empowering the female employees. Our first challenge of today was that women are not attracted to the finance industry, and they fear applying due to both a lack of information and a fear to ask questions. Our strategy includes a social media campaign for them to learn more about these roles, as well as an online chatbot and mentorship program for them to openly ask their questions. Our second challenge of today was retaining the women leaders we already have at Mackenzie Investments. And we will be doing this, and the challenge shows that women are less likely to be promoted and are likelier to choose their family over career due to a lack of support. Our strategy targets this challenge by supporting them via an online platform that will connect them to services that will aid and support their work-life balance, as well as the dual-sided mentorship program that will be recognized when they will be as mentors and will help in their promotions. Now that we've looked at the analysis, let's hand it over to the strategist to show us how it will be done.
Thank you, Rebecca. So today we're presenting to you the Unshakable Strategy, a 2-pillar strategy composed of the first one, attract, and the second pillar, growth. But before we jump into any more details and conclusions, let us take you through the vision of what we see Mackenzie being after today's strategy.
Thank you, Palayo. Empowering women doesn't happen through a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey and a career-long journey. And that's why in our vision today, we will be supporting and empowering women from the moment they meet Mackenzie until they reach their potential throughout their entire career. And the first step to doing this is adapting to their needs. And we will be addressing this by increasing the accessibility to finance opportunities for women who are interested and connecting them to their mentors.
You have already implemented many initiatives to be able to onboard these women, such as, for example, the case competitions. But we want to take this one step further and be able to bridge that gap between a woman knowing Mackenzie and actually applying for the position. That's why we're implementing the Have a Talk initiative, where you will be able to apply to be able to talk with one of the female professionals working at McKinsey. You will have to submit your CV, which will be AI screened to be able to ensure that the time our employees are taking with this initiative is for a good purpose and that the candidates fit the general criteria. Moreover, the candidates will be able to book the time slots that these different employees within McKinsey are available for in using a own created platform. But the Have a Talk will not be an interview. It will feature a relaxed conversational interaction with the employees, female employees within your company, to be able to openly ask questions about topics such as what we were discussing in the analysis. But we want to take this one step further, and we want to be able to create profiles that fit exactly what your applicants are looking for. The candidates will be able to see the different profiles of your employees within the Have a Talk platform. Each employee working at McKinsey will be able to take part in the initiative and create their own platform and submit profile information, which both includes the professional information as well as a personal one. And the employees will be able to select which hours they are available for this initiative and how much time they want to spend. This will mean that the candidates will be able to select the employees that they have most in common with. See, for example, here Emma's profile. We can see the professional side of Emma, such as where she has studied, where she has lived, and how many years she has spent at McKinsey. But we can also see the personal side to be able to have that initial conversation and interaction, such as where she has traveled and what sports she has done. But because this is reserved to only people that fit the general criteria, we want to take it a step further. And we want to introduce this chatbot, which is available for everyone. Even though you might not meet the CV criteria right now, you can ask these questions regarding any professional development for females. We see this AI-powered chatbots to be able to answer all the frequently asked questions, and it will be trained to give accurate responses on any female positions, opportunities, and benefits that we offer at McKinsey. This will serve as the megaphone to the initiatives that you're currently doing, and it will tackle the main problems we have seen in the analysis, such as half of the female candidates lacking the information and the confidence about these career objectives, and that women are 2.5 times less likely to ask questions in public events such as conferences. But we want to market this in a certain way. We want to use online marketing because you already have physical marketing procedures, and we want to create this hybrid module. We'll be using the existing social media platforms such as Instagram, as well as more professional platforms such as LinkedIn. And the communication of all these marketing messages will be towards a progression within McKinsey for all women positions.
But we want to take a look at something that has worked in the past, such as the company Avanti West Coast, which operates in a heavily male-dominated industry as well. We've seen that when they implemented a similar chatbot, their number of female applications increased by 400%. When they introduced this one-month marketing campaign and the chatbot, which tells us that this has been successful in the past.
We want to take it a step further and ensure that when females go into the workforce at McKinsey, they are able to grow beyond this.
Exactly. Now that we have established the touch point with interested applicants and females that might be interested in the finance industry, let's take a look at how we can incentivize those that are already there and those that are now just coming in. First of all, the platform mentors will be connected to the mentees. We'll track the hours that the existing mentors, the female employees at the company, are spending mentoring the different female applicants and female people that are interested. Because these hours that are being tracked will be accounted for in different evaluations that are done of employees, it will help show the people at McKinsey how many hours they have spent and how much they are contributing to this mentorship program, therefore accounting for this during employee promotions and sponsorship, allowing for opportunities for growth within McKinsey for existing employees. These active mentors will also receive badges on their LinkedIns, which will show other prospective interested females about the opportunities that are at McKinsey and show them also the visibility of females in these roles, because we saw that there was a very low visibility of female role models in the finance industry. These LinkedIn badges that are on LinkedIn, the #1 professional network platform, will increase the visibility of these role models and encourage and empower women to apply and be interested in the future. For the new female hires and the people that are taken on board to this mentorship program, the mentees, they will be mentored throughout their career. Because this is a career-long initiative, we think that mentorship is important in the long term, and that's why their mentorships will continue throughout their career. If they are hired at Mackenzie, they will continue with their mentors of choice and continue this relationship, delivering value throughout their entire career through your existing mentorship programs and different trainings. The mentors will track their progression through regular feedback, and this will help both sides, both the mentee and the mentor, through developing and mentoring in Mackenzie. However, we also want to take it a step further. Now, for the employees, the female employees that are at Mackenzie, we saw a huge roadblock in their work-life balance. Many females see that the choice between choosing a family and your career is their biggest roadblock in their career. And that's why we would like to introduce a platform to streamline services to make this happen easier and quicker and minimize this roadblock for other women. Because women see, as they progress into the career, this program will streamline solutions such as childcare, services for food and grocery, as well as your existing counseling services all in one place. Now that they are continuing to grow into their positions, Mackenzie wants to retain the women and provide them with opportunities into the future. Therefore, service providers such as care.com, which connects care seekers with local caregivers and can be tailored to everyone's needs, will be integrated into this platform so that employees can utilize this system, as well as different examples like Call Emmy, which offers laundry and cleaning, as well as groceries from Instacart. Because these external service providers are being connected to their target customers, women who need support in childcare, they're incentivized to even offer discounts for Mackenzie employees, as they have done in the past. However, we want to take a step back and look at what it takes to bring this strategy and make it reality. First, we would like to take the steps to hire a development team for this platform and design the user interface and the user experience, as well as promote the profile creation for the different mentors on this platform. Then it's necessary to select third-party services in order to connect and integrate into this platform. And finally, this is when the strategy can be brought to market in the first 4 months, but we see the impact being throughout the next 5 years and beyond. We've identified a strategy horizon, expanding the mentorship program wider into the future and developing in-house opportunities, such as these in-person events that can be bringing the mentees into the office to experience the benefits tangibly. Throughout the strategy, we have identified 3 key risks, as including the misrepresentation or public backlash, limited usefulness of the chatbot, and finally, a lack of user engagement.
The first key challenge, so misrepresentation and public backlash, has a key mitigation, ensuring the campaign is aligned with your value proposition as Mackenzie. That is something that we will take into account from the first day of the creation of the marketing campaign, and any content that does not align with this vision will be deleted immediately from all platforms. The second risk we identified is the limited usefulness of the chatbot, and we see providing human support as an option for situations where the chatbots may fall short. You will continue to offer the current assistance you have in place. And the third one, the lack of user engagement. We see migrating these online campaigns into promoting more the physical campaigns, such as case competitions or in-house days, as a possible mitigation if we see that this isn't gaining traction. But now that we have looked at the risks, Baptiste, can you take us through the exciting part?
Thank you, Pedro. Now, members of the jury, to achieve the unshakable strategy, it is vital for your company to invest a strategic investment of 6.5 million Canadian dollars over the next 5 years, with our first year cost allocation breakdown including the $320,000 Canadian dollars to actually develop these features, such as, for instance, the chatbot, as well as user interface features. You'll also be investing on a yearly basis 1.1 million in terms of platform maintenance, such as using as well partners like Microsoft Azure for the data you'll be collecting. And lastly, you'll also be expending $59,000 in terms of social media expenses. But through this strategy, we are able to reach 3 key KPIs. Taking a look at our next slide, we can see that the first one is the female application increase on a year-on-year basis, allowing you to reach 41% more females in applications. Secondly, the female turnover rate will be decreasing to 22% in the coming 5 years. And lastly, our last KPI for today is leadership development on a year-on-year basis, accounting for 7%, meaning that you'll have 7% more females who will get promoted on a year-on-year basis compared to your current number of females being promoted. So therefore, these 3 KPIs can only be reached through the unshakable strategy, a strategy where we offer a holistic experience to females, going from the first touch point they see when meeting our company all the way through their career development, going from offering a chatbot for any uncertainties they have in their careers, offering them the possibility to speak directly with employees, and lastly, offering your current employees, the females, trying to save them time outside of their work environment by offering them access to external services. We'd like to thank you for your time and are open to any questions you may have.
The presentation is up. Thank you. We'll now begin the Q&A period. Friendly reminder, the Q&A period will only be 10 minutes long.
Yeah, I can start. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. I enjoyed it. I did have a question about the costs. You say it was 6.5 million that it was going to cost. That I'm presuming that's the 1 million, 1.5 million, I guess it was, over the 5 years. I'm presuming that's what it was. Okay. I did like your mentioning of care.com. I'm presuming that they already exist, care.com?
Yes, that is an existing service.
Okay. And Call Me in groceries, I think that's good to put it in a package all together to encourage women to get into the industry. I did have a question about the mentoring process. You mentioned mentoring basically, and it sounded to me, if I understood it correctly, that it was just women on women. Is that what you were envisioning, or was there something more to it that I missed?
We are envisioning it in that way because we see that many of the women that are trying to go into the finance role lack this female representation. So we believe this one-on-one mentoring, where you get to know someone who is in that position already, will allow us to leap over that first hurdle.
Okay.
I'd like to go back on your feasibility versus impact slide, and I'm just curious to know how, because I suspect these were all the options you have envisioned for our company. How did you assess feasibility on this slide?
So in terms of the strategies we came up with many strategies during the solving, but these are the ones we believe most relevant to target the challenges. And in terms of how we evaluate feasibility, we looked at the current initiatives that the company is having and how well those were executed, and whether these existing strategies would leverage upon those, or whether they would be outside of the scope of what the company is doing, and therefore lack the talent or maybe the people to implement these strategies.
Okay, thank you. And for your KPIs, how did you came up with these numbers?
Absolutely. So if we go to our appendix slide on KPIs, which is exactly this one, if you go back one slide, thank you. Essentially, the way we computed them was purely based on comparable analysis, looking at case studies from various companies. We can dive into each if you wish, but essentially we calculated, based on different case studies, the impact of similar strategies which had on their firms, look at the difference before their strategy and after, and then took an average of all these case studies for each KPI to get the most accurate outcome of the current potential results we could get from the strategy.
I'd like to know more if you can speak a little bit about integrating the chatbot and human support. How do you see that working in an HR services model, integrating the two?
So we see the chatbot working with HR services because the chatbot will be AI run, and it is more meant for the silly questions or maybe the questions that a female might not be empowered to ask in a conference. The AI would be able to handle those. And in terms of the human support, we see the possibility, if the AI chatbot, we saw that people were not satisfied with the answers they might be receiving, the possibility of integrating human support as a supplement to the AI.
Sorry, just a follow-up question. Would that be in the form of an app, a website? How would they reach the...
Well, we're gonna be offering it within your current website in a new interface, the Have a Talk interface, where you will be able to submit your CV if you want to take part in this Have a Talk, or you can ask the chatbot any questions you may have. So it's within the current website.
Sorry, I meant to reach HR. Is it going to be integrated in the same system, like a ticket system or case management system?
Yeah, you will be able to submit a formal request to HR if you have any problems with the chatbot. but we don't expect this to happen just yet. We won't be integrating this feature at the launch of the program, but rather as a mitigation if we see that there are errors with the chatbot.
Thank you.
Maybe to add on specifically on the chatbot, we're looking into building it based on machine learning where any mistakes made in the past will not be recurring again, because that is the foundation of machine learning for AI.
Thank you.
We still have 5 minutes left.
I just wanted to offer kudos. I like your use of the Avanti example of how they use this whole approach of the chatbot in order to actually increase substantially their hiring of females. So that was very instructive.
Just maybe one question. So you mentioned about, would this be increasing headcount for the developing, maintaining the website, 3 full-time employees? And what about for the social media strategy?
For the social media strategy, as it would be essentially providing and posting twice a day on all social media platforms you have, we incurred on the following slide 1 social media employee as an expense, although you already have a social media marketing team, so we are only adding this 1 extra employee should it actually be necessary based on your current needs.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, thank you delegates, thank you judges for your participation. We'll ask everyone to leave the room so we can set up the next presentation. Thank you. Lori, and I'll be your timekeeper for today. I will show you warning signs where there are 10, 5, 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Once the 10-second countdown is up, I will say stop, after which the team must stop talking immediately. Afterward, a 10 minutes Q&A period will follow. I would like to remind you all that all team must present for a minimum of 15 minutes, and all team members must speak during the presentation, but not necessarily during the Q&A period. Audience member, I will ask that you please place your phone on silent mode and remain seated in the room for the duration of the full presentation and Q&A period. I will now let the judges introduce themselves. When they are done, you may begin your presentation and the timer will start.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Valerie Lemieux. I work for the HR department at IGM.
Hi, I'm Tim Cummings. I worked for many years at IGM as a consultant. I'm now retired.
Hi, I'm David White. I'm Manager of Benefits and Wellness at PVH, a retail company.
Nice to meet you.
Meet you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to start off our pitch today with a quote. Fortune favors the bold. All throughout history, the most successful and influential individuals are known for their bold characteristics and their leadership qualities. Right now, all of you have an important decision to make, and you have the opportunity to take the bold route and inspire change in the asset management industry forever. My name is Luca, alongside my team Michael, Kushi, and Sri, and today we are going to be presenting to you our solution on how to empower women in the asset management industry.
Thank you, Luca, for that wonderful introduction. Now, as Luca mentioned, our challenge today is how exactly can we empower women in the asset management industry. There is a glaring lack of women. Only 12% of investment roles are filled by female professionals in the asset management industry, and that is a cause for concern. However, there is growing customer demand for female asset management professionals. So 4 trillion financial assets will be in the hands of women by 2028 in Canada, and that is what indicates that we have customer demand, and these female high net worth individuals want female representation in the industry as well. So due to lack of opportunities in asset management, Mackenzie must create a strategy to attract, retain and engage female asset management professionals within the next 5 years to address customer demand. The key considerations that we had were the underrepresentation of women, consumer-driven demand, as well as the strategy that needs to be implemented within all the boutique firms of Mackenzie. Our solution will revolve around 3 main pillars: empower, enrich and engage.
Now that my colleague Kushi has clearly stated the problem at hand, let's break it down further. Starting with gender imbalance and retention challenges, the ratio of men to women in the last 20 years has remained the same. Female investment professionals have a significantly higher turnover rate compared to men at 43%. Women are more likely to be assigned admin tasks or have caregiving responsibilities, which often disrupts their professional goals. And next, we have lack of supportive initiative for women in the workplace. While mentorship opportunities exist, there is a lack of follow-up sponsorships, and there is an evident need for more educational opportunities that are aimed at young women. And lastly, there is an evident underrepresentation of women in leadership and client engagement. Only 5.7% of funds globally report into female CIOs, and 18% of women change financial advisors within a year of losing their partner.
Now let's take a quick look at the global asset management analysis, as we want to have a global perspective when considering our competitors and how they are adapting. We've listed BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Schroders, and Nomura as main competitors, and they have different focuses, ranging from diversity in global leadership, women in leadership, gender parity in leadership, as well as a stronger female talent pool. Some key considerations to make based off of what they are doing is having diversity metrics and accountability. When Women Lead initiative is something amazing that Goldman Sachs Asset Management is currently working on, which we'll get into later, as well as cultural awareness and transparency, and overcoming cultural norms. Now, some learning points for us to take into consideration are clear targets and accountability, having accessible mentorship programs, cultural adaptability, as well as regional strategies. Now let's take a quick look at the industry analysis overall and see how it's shaping up. Market stats are as follows, with a 29.9% CAGR as well as a $667 billion Canadian market size. There's a lot of room for growth in the coming years. Gender parity in the industry is very weak, as there's only 12.5% global average for women in asset management, as well as the high turnover rates as mentioned, just 43% for women. This needs to be changed. as well as the work-life balance impacts. Traditionally, women are expected to stay at home with families, especially as emerging mothers. They are typically taking more parental leave than their husbands, as well as performance improvements. It's important to have calculated risk and long-term growth as an asset management firm, and statistically proven that women are focused on long-term growth as well as being more cautious overall with investments. Social change is a huge factor in the modern day industry, and women are known to drive social change, which is through ESG principles, as well as having a higher global performance when compared to non-diverse asset managers.
Now these are the following criteria for our decision matrix. How exactly do we increase the female participation in the asset management industry? So the three criteria are attracting female professionals, is the solution providing them opportunities for career advancement, and is it financially feasible? So these are the three alternatives that we considered. The first alternative we considered was creating a female investors division within Mackenzie Investments. So creating a separate division within Mackenzie which will focus on female investors and female clients. However, we rejected this idea because it would basically isolate them and it would also not be inclusive but rather do the opposite. The second alternative we considered was having part-time investment jobs for women in the asset management industry. However, we again rejected it because relationships are what asset management is built on, and part-time investment jobs where people are only staying for some time really does not focus on our main mission of strengthening our relationship with clients. And the third alternative was the Mackenzie Triple Edge solution. And this is the solution that we are going to be following today. It revolves around our three pillars of empower, engage, and enrich and engage. Empowering and attracting female professionals, retaining them in the industry, as well as engaging with female customers who want representation in the industry. And these are the three goals we aim to solve.
Now let's take a look at the empower aspect of our solution. And for this, we have a three-part strategy. Starting with university case competitions, we'll be collaborating with university clubs like the finance clubs or women's organizations in the universities to create a women-only Mackenzie case competition. So we'll be providing real-world case challenges that are related to this industry, and we'll also be providing them networking opportunities with other female representatives from Mackenzie. And as an incentive, winners will be receiving interviews for exclusive summer internships. So this will promote industry awareness and make the field more accessible for younger women. And next, we will be establishing a dedicated task force to focus on increasing gender diversity. So as a part of this, we'll be also training and focus on career development tailored for just women. So this will create a sustainable framework for increasing gender diversity, and it will ensure equitable recruitment and also just overall enhance company reputation. And finally, we have the Reignite networking event. And for this, we'll be hosting a networking event for women who left the field, which will also include female guests as speakers who share similar experiences. So these female guests will be people who exited the field and re-entered and have successful careers now. So we'll also host panel discussions on current trends and opportunities. So we give them a chance to stay up to date regarding the current trends. And to invite them, we'll be sending out personal invitations for women who left our company. And for attracting other women, we'll be having a social media promotion. And this overall will provide a supportive network and provides targeted advice and will create a lasting impact on these women. And with this, we'll be efficiently attracting female professionals.
Let's take a look at the second part of the solution, which is enrich. We want to make sure we reimagine the current Mackenzie Together Foundation and create something spectacular. You know your why, the purpose of what you do, said by Chief Investment Officer Leslie Marks. An article from Investment Executive discussed Leslie Marks' early career and how she had to overcome gender parity difficulties on her way to executive leadership. Our Mackenzie Together program enhancements will focus on the passing down of wisdom and advice from senior leaders such as Leslie and make Mackenzie a place like no other. Now let's see how we aim to do that. We aim 5 key pillars for this solution, which is targeted leadership development, work-life flexibility improvements, active sponsorship and advocacy, tailored career mentorship, as well as cross-boutique networking and events. As we recognize, it is very important to include the 16 inner boutiques within Mackenzie. We have key considerations listed as follows, which is the design and framework. We have a structured, multi-phase enhancements centered around a 5-year professional development program, as well as mentorship and sponsorship. We want to establish focus groups for women within our firms to improve their work-life balance and encourage career progression, as well as cost effectiveness. We want to leverage existing infrastructure and have a focus on long-term growth, and our incremental phases will as well help us manage spending. Now, this will essentially help us retain female asset managers by enhancing this program and create lasting change.
Now let's look at the third phase of our solution, engage. How exactly do we address the increasing customer demand within the industry? So after we attract our female asset management professionals, we also wanted to add on to that to address the customer demand. For that, we'll be doing three main things. Firstly, we'll be establishing a Women's Advisory Council, which is made of female high net worth clients who can give us feedback on our service offerings for females and provide continuous improvement suggestions. Secondly, we'll be providing an at-home service offering. So nearly 2/3 of women, according to Simon Kucher, said that they are willing to pay a premium for in-person service offerings. And so this is why we'll be increasing our service offerings where our asset managers can go and have meetings with women at their home, so they don't have to spend a lot of time with it, but they still get an in-person service offering. Thirdly, we'll be having thought leadership, so we'll be posting client success stories as well as we'll be advertising our new offerings on social media. With this, we address the increasing female customer demand.
Now let's see how this all ties together through our implementation plan. Now, as you know, this is a 5-year plan with 2.1 million CAD in total costs, as well as 2.7 million CAD in incremental revenue. Now let's start right at the top with our power phase. We want to begin with partnering with universities as well as designing and hosting our own case competition. We want to establish our task force going into Q3 of this year, as well as invite an alumni, as well as promote the event, moving throughout to 2027. This will set up a solid framework where we can eventually launch the networking event and have it recurring every 2 years. Moving on to our enrich phase, we want to start off right away at Q2 of 2025 with our professional kickoff event. Bring women from all of these different firms together in one place and make sure everyone gets a chance to meet each other, as well as start the process early. Then we'll begin our mentor matching process as well as our career sponsorship program in the third quarter of 2025. We'll move on to workshops and skill building following the mentorship programs, as well as that will move out to 2027. Mentor check-ins will be sporadic throughout each year to make sure that mentees and mentors have a solid relationship and that they're continuing to build on their career. As well, we want to offer expanded wellness initiatives. Starting in 2027, we will launch them and then they will continue on through the rest of the year. As well, an annual Mackenzie Together Summit, which will signal the 5-year anniversary of the beginning of our plan. This will bring together senior executives and women within the asset management industry to celebrate the lasting change that we've been able to deliver in the last 5 years. Moving on to optimization, we want to make sure set a solid feedback system as well, moving out throughout the rest of the year. And lastly but not least, the identified members for Women's Advisory Council, as well as the asset management training for at-home services. We want to focus on that within the first 2 years to make sure we have a solid structure moving throughout, as well as our content strategy for thought leadership will directly coincide with this training. Then we will set up our interactive communication platform, as well as announce and continue in marketing to ensure lasting success throughout the development of our program. Now I'd like to pass it off to Michael for our financials.
Thank you. Now that my colleagues have given you a great layout of the solution, let's talk about the numbers and how everything is going to get put together. Starting off, we have our solution cost totaling 2.1 million Canadian, which is going to be happening in the first year of 2025. The total incremental revenues of the first year will be 2.78 million, with a total ROI of 176% with the full tenure of the 5-year plan. Now, looking a little bit deeper into the profit model, let's start from the very beginning in 2024. You notice that we benchmarked some prior revenues of around 90 million Canadian, which we were then growing by 3% year over year due to our initiatives and strategy put in place by the team. We then have our gross profit, which will be around the same since we are benchmarking a little to no cost of goods sold for this type of industry. And then you'll notice that our operating income is slowly increasing year over year, which is what we expect with such a stable and secure and conservative solution. Some key assumptions to note, of course, is the no COGS. Our serviceable addressable market of $4 million Canadian is what we're looking to attain within the first year, as well as a growth of 2 to 3% year over year for the full 5 years. Some key revenue drivers to note are the key networking events, as well as our advertising initiatives and promotion strategies, as well as attracting high net worth females, specifically through that touch point of visiting them. Now, let's talk about some amazing change, specifically with women. We want to reallocate our AUM to have women manage 12% more than the prior years. Now, what exactly this graph shows, spoken specifically, is that 2 $2.2 trillion of assets under management is currently managed by women. We want to increase that number with our strategy and increase it by 12% all the way to 2029. Now let's take a look at the current cost structure of our business and what exactly we're working with right now. So you'll notice some key main pillars being the fund management expenses accounting for the bulk amount of 25%, marketing and sales expenses to be around 5%, fund administration around 10%, technology and infrastructure costs at 10%, and lastly, legal and compliance at around 5%. These are all industry averages that we were able to take from some external sources and were used to benchmark in the profit model. Now, let's talk about our solution, specifically the costs associated with that. So you'll notice that we are spending 2.1 million CAD in the beginning, and we have a plethora of costs all listed down. Now, to make this easier to digest, we'll start from the top with the marketing and promotion being around $750,000 spent year over year. We then have our case competition costs at around $20,000. Since we only want to host one really big one, we believe that $20,000 gives us the capacity to make it a really good and thorough event. We then have the hiring and training task force, which is going to be around $275,000 in the first year, but you'll notice that we're going to cut that cost by 50% from the second year moving onwards, simply because the bulk of the hiring process will be done at that point, so we will only be training and maybe retraining some new individuals for that portion. Moving forward, we have the networking event costs, which are going to be around $13,000 a year. Our program kickoff costs, mentioned by Luca prior, are going to be $125,000 a year, continually recurring. We then have our mentorship matching costs. This is so that the individuals can match up with the mentors. These costs are recurring year over year as well. Our workshop and sponsorship programs at around $60,000. The Women Advisory Council at around $25,000, decreasing a bit. As mentioned prior, once we have that in place, we're estimating that the cost will decrease by a bit there. And our at-home service costs, which are going to be quite a bit, $625,000, since we can't really predict where these people are going to be located, so we have to kind of give it a little bit of a bigger budget in order to factor that in. And client success stories, just simply posting on our website as well as any other third-party source. We're allocating around $15,000 for that year over year to update that, and a contingency budget of $40,000 per year, totaling $200,000 within the full 5 years. Now, with that said, let's take a look at a bit more of a bigger perspective and see what are we going to pay on the low end versus the high end. You're looking on the low end of around 1.6 million and on the high end of 2.5 million. Now, a really big question being why would simply be because of some of the costs that we have that are very variance related. For example, the hiring and training. Very hard to predict, could be very high, could be very low. As well as the at-home service costs. We can't predict simply where some of these individuals will be located. With that said, you'll notice the variation of around $400,000 from the base case. Now, let's talk about some KPIs and what we're looking to achieve here in a more specific aspect. So financially speaking, we want to grow our revenues by 2% year over year, achieved by 2027, and with the actions being to attract high net worth female clients would be the best way to do this. We want to look at a big goal to hire 300 women, specifically in the asset management space by 2027. This would be kind of pushed forward and really bolstered through our workshops and our program initiatives. And lastly, we know that turnover rate's a really big issue, so we want to target that specifically by decreasing the turnover rate by 25% by the end of the plan in 2029. This would be by enhancing the Mackenzie Together program, and that's how we would solve that. Now let's take a look at a few key risks and mitigations that are associated with the solution. So as in any change in any company, it's important to know that there's always going to be a resistance to change, not specifically, in any business as a whole. So one key way that we've noted is that the executive buy-in approach is a great way to tackle this. Another risk would be some of the unrealistic expectations from the leaders. Since we are hiring these new women within the asset management space, there's going to be a lot of expectations to drive home profits. Some ways that we can mitigate this is to have a clear responsibility of slow growth year over year so that it eases them into this process. And lastly, work-life balance may hinder growth. As we know, that could be a very big risk as a whole, but we look to mitigate this through our leadership training on work-life balance. Now with that said, Lucas is going to close us off.
Thank you, Michael. Now, let's take a quick look at our conclusion of what we seek to achieve. Through our Empower, Enrich, and Engage solution, we want to empower and attract females at all career levels to join our firm. We want to enrich the careers of existing female professionals in the asset management industry, specifically at McKinsey, as well as engage with female customers who are advocating for more representation within the industry. As well, we will achieve this through growing revenue by 2%, hiring 300 additional women, as well as a decreased turnover rate by 25%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is evident that a change needs to be made in the asset management industry. And we hope that you will join us and make sure that McKinsey Investments leads the charge in this change. Thank you very much, and we'd now like to open the floor to any questions you may have.
Thank you. We'll now begin the Q&A period. Friendly reminder, the Q&A period will only be 10 minutes long.
Always first.
That's the tradition that I start. So thank you guys for this presentation. Saw a lot of things that I really liked in network industry. But one burning question that I have, and maybe I missed it because you did have a lot of numbers there, which was good. You had 2.1 million, I believe, was in the cost to implement this plan. But you also mentioned 2.7 million in revenue, and I'm not sure I saw where those revenues were coming from. Can you maybe just go over them for me and make it a little clearer for me, please?
Not a problem. Happy to do that. So the 2.7 million of incremental revenue. So what we're kind of referring by that is that between 2024 to 2025, there's an increase of that amount. So that's why you won't actually see the figure itself.
But my question is, what is that revenue that you're talking about? Like, is it because you hired the women, they're going to bring in more revenue? I'm not clear. What
Gotcha. So in terms of that incremental revenue, so pretty much the biggest reason why we're estimating that is essentially through those high net worth females that are going to be, active and more participating with our female asset managers. Since they hold a lot of assets and we really see a lot of potential that by hiring more women, we can facilitate that connection. That's going to be, I would say, at least 80% of that number, that incremental revenue associated with our solution. But yes, I would say that would be the biggest reason for that.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is the women that you hire, they're going to be bringing in more assets, and that's going to be generating more fees and more revenues. That's what that. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So that's where it came from. Okay. There was another one. You had a triple edge solution. I like that. That was very good. The future of McKinsey together. Did you get that from like the McKinsey site, or was that just a suggestion of yours, or what is that?
Yeah, so I could go directly over that for you. Essentially, when we were completing our research and seeing how we can make the greatest change, we noticed that the McKinsey Together Foundation has already set the foundation for what we aim to improve upon. And through this phase of our solution, we really want to focus on this amazing foundation and leverage this existing infrastructure that is already created within the firm and grow it to unimaginable heights, as well as really work hard on this 5-year development program and make real change on top of what we've already established.
Okay, good. And one last question, which I ask all the groups, and I would like to ask you as well too, is did you take advantage of ChatGPT when you were initially putting this together?
I think for the most part, how ChatGPT could help as well as helping define the implementation wording. Typically, the wording of certain implementations may be a difficulty, and going through training is just something to navigate, right? And you want to make sure, especially when we're presenting to like very important clients, that we have the proper wording and we don't confuse you with the use of that. So I think that's something we took advantage of in regards to the wording and specifics.
Okay, thank you.
I can go. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. There's one slide on market benchmark data. So I see you have 4 competitors or other companies here that are leading the market in female representation. What did you take from these 2 come up with your recommendation and solutions?
Absolutely. As you see, the learning points was something we really wanted to focus on. And as we were completing our research on these different companies, we wanted to not only understand what they were doing, but how it impacted the women within their industries. Through clear targets and accountability, as BlackRock really focused on being transparent with a lot of their information they provided, as well as their female engagement programs giving clear statistics. Goldman Sachs has accessible mentorship programs for all women within that industry. That's something we really wanted to take part in, as well as the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Community, which was something really of interest to us when we're developing it, as well as the When Women Lead initiative. Basically, having something accessible for all women interested in this field is something we wanted to take to our solution and why we wanted to develop the community such as it is, as well as cultural adaptability. In the UK, where Schroders is located, they have a very diverse population, and as they've been increasing their gender parity in leadership as well as cultural awareness, they've really made the effort to focus on cultural adaptability and being an open community for everyone. We wanted to adapt that, and that's why we have such an open and willing community that we want to develop within Mackenzie Investments. And Nomura from Asia wants to develop a stronger female talent pool, but they've had to overcome cultural norms. As in that specific region, they've had difficulties with changing cultural normalities in regards to women in the workforce, for example. And they focus on regional strategies, targeting specific areas within that region to focus on kind of overcoming those norms, having events to teach people and spread awareness. That's where we wanted to kind of focus and transfer that to Mackenzie Investments. Make sure we have a regionally focused and kind of a great viewpoint on how we want to make the change, how we have to be understanding of everyone's different cultural backgrounds and normalities, and really inspire change at the very forefront of it.
Thank you. I really like the empower, enrich, and engage. For empower, could you tell me more about the networking events? Knowing that we have a workforce across the country, how would you envision organizing, where, when, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we noticed that there was a high turnover rate for women, and that's why we did some research and we thought that hosting a Reignite networking event would be extremely beneficial. So what we'd be doing is we'd be hosting one networking event in Toronto, which is the main city where we would be able to bring in all these women. So what we do is we'll be sending out personal email invitations for women who've quit our company due to whatever needs, personal needs that they might have. And as for other women from other companies, we will be having a really effective promotion through social media. So we'll be posting ads about the event on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, so they just will be more aware of the event taking place. And so in the event, we'll be bringing in female guests who also quit the industry but rejoined and have a successful career right now. And we'll also have panel discussions which will have discussions about current trends and opportunities, which will make sure that these women are more up to date. And we just think that this solution will ensure that they have a supportive network, and will also be giving them targeted advice, so they learn a little more about the industry, things that they missed out on.
Good, thank you. So empower, I got it. University case, diversity, networking event. Enrich, I felt there was a lot into that section. Could you summarize to me, like 5 or 3 key actions to summarize everything that is included?
No problem. I'm going to go right to the implementation plan. And something that we really wanted to focus on was the mentorship and sponsorship of these female individuals in the asset management industry. Traditionally, they've had a lack of mentors and role models in that space. And by identifying, for example, the CIO, Leslie Marks, we wanted to focus on bringing in these senior leaders to these networking events, these mentorship check-ins, as well as the workshops and skill building, to pass on this knowledge and this wisdom to the incoming female employees. One main event that you may take note of is the professional kickoff event, which we want to start off in Q2 of 2025. Now this event will be the beginning of this amazing program. We'll bring together senior executives as well as females from all across the asset management industry and really give them a place to connect and learn more about each other. As we move forward, such as the career sponsorship and mentor matching process, we want to give tailored mentorship advice to these new female employees so that they have the ability to progress in their career, seek advice from seniors who have already been through the process, as well as address work-life balance and issues that may arise. We also want to be a very flexible company, and through the expanded wellness initiatives, we want to include an option for work-life flexibility. Essentially, if a female employee has difficulties within her work-life balance or family issues have arise, through this expanded wellness initiatives, we want to make sure Mackenzie addresses this with the females and doesn't hold them against them, rather grow in an effective manner. And again, the cross-boutique collaboration is a huge portion we wanted to factor. One of the difficulties before we solved this case was bringing together the 60 different investment boutiques within the structure. Now, through this solution, we want to bring them all in one place and one mentorship program to make sure they know each other, they can learn from each other, and they can grow together.
This was actually all the time we've got for Q&A. Thank you, delegates. Thank you, judges, for your participation. We'll ask everyone to leave their room so we can start deliberating. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, quick question. What time will you come back in an hour?
Maya's gonna tell us.